gamers! The video I had planned to release got bungalooed googalooed. I don't know what it is. Having a multi-PC setup and then sound, having multiple outlets, because I'm using my Go XLR that then translates into a second software to boost everything, because essentially this, I don't know, I guess I didn't set this mic correctly, but either way, I like it because it has soundboard and everything. So I can play and make some fun stuff if I ever do it. Like, I can do this. Oh, and you know what? What's wowing? Subscribe. I just cleared out that. Okay. I just cleared out my I just cleared that set out. Like, there's a button that says clear, and I just cleared that slot out like a jackass. Anyways. Oh no, everything's going wrong today. Oh no, this is such a late video for me to record, upload on the same day. Thank God I'm off for the days. All right, so we're gonna watch a video called Saving Bungie by Laura Fryer, which apparently she's an industry expert, knows a couple of things about video games. I'm gonna say this right now. I don't think, apparently Astacross did a video on it like 4 hours ago or whatever, whenever I picked this up. Based on my timeline over here. It's Monday and I just woke up, and you can tell. What do I think? Do I think Bungie can be saved? I'm gonna be very honest. I don't think it can be saved, because you have, in order to change something dramatically, you have to get it into the weeds. You have to get rid of every aspect that is applying itself to the toxic environment, which we know is going on at Bungie. There's a culture, there is a mindset that is only found, well, it's not only found, but is found in places where, you know, essentially leadership has kind of thrown in the towel. And that seems like what's happening to Bungie. The work environment is just not good. Now, if you're gonna give me pills, give me a blue pill and a red pill, or whatever order it is, it doesn't really matter. One pill says that Bungie dies and fails and is gone forever. Another pill says we go back to the ages of Halo, the classics, and we start getting that Bungie starts making games like Halo again, bangers. And I know they've had issues in the past too. Like, let's not act like they didn't. Even making Halo, they had issues. But let's say they're making content that's that good again, right? We're excited for it. We're loving it. What do I want? I'm going to cope and get the pill that gives me the Halo style content. And even if it was Destiny, but if it's on the same level as Halo, finally, holy, because let's be honest, Destiny will never be on the same level as Halo was when it came out. It just never will be. Halo was iconic. It is literally imprinted in gaming history. Destiny is not. But I would absolutely cope and take the pill to, go back and give us a shot at maybe having some more of those glory days again. I just want to put that out there. It's not like, I do hate Bungie as a company, but there is a lot of people that love the games, right? They love Destiny, and they do want to make games that players want to play. It's just they're kind of buried under the slop fest that is the rest of the company. So with that being said, let's see how we're going to maybe save said company.
Bungie has been mired in controversy for the past several years. They've had tone-deaf layoffs, they've lost several key team members, and they've been caught multiple times stealing artwork. To top it off,
one last thing. This is a React video. The link will be down below. If you don't like Reacts, and if you don't like me yapping, then please refer to the link down below. I'm going to judge you if you make a comment complaining about reacts and or the fact that I'm talking a lot. The link is down below. I believe you have intelligence. Use it if you don't like what you're seeing.
Latest game Marathon isn't loved by gamers, and it's likely to fail if it continues on the current trajectory. Things aren't looking good, and I wonder if Bungie can be saved. Can they lead their team out of this crisis? The short answer is yes, they can save the studio. That doesn't mean it will happen, but with transparency and accountability, they can build back the trust that they've lost. For context, if you haven't heard, the game developer Bungie, famous for making Halo and Destiny, was recently caught stealing artwork. Here's what they had to say.
It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of pre-production took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. And we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie.
This was a good first step for fixing things. Joe, the art director, did a great job.
I'm sorry. I don't agree. Sure. I mean, let's be honest. This isn't the first time they took ownership. This was a horrible live stream. Like, it did more harm than it did good. I don't know why we're giving them props unless he was just giving a visual statement and then you end it right there. But I think that was completely thrown out the window for multiple reasons. One, the live stream itself was bad. The comments from just the stream itself was plagiarism is God. People getting upset about calling them art raiders. It was just, it became more of the butt of a joke than anything else. Then you also have the fact that they're continuing to not, be honest with the fact that literally Joe followed, or Joseph, whatever is Cross, the art director, literally follows the artist they stole from, along with multiple Bungie developers. For years they followed. So, with that being said, this isn't a good start. It actually did worse because, again, they're trying to pin it on a lone Bungie ex-employee. It does not look good, right? And obviously, it'll never come out and be truly honest about all that because it could be used against them in a court of law. So they're pleading the fifth. Like, oh, I don't know. I've never seen her in my life. No, I did not have sex with that woman. That's the vibes I was getting. But yeah, it's hard to give credit when it feels like it's completely dismissive of reality. And the reality is someone should have noticed, and with all these developers following the artist themselves. And apparently no one did, either intentionally or unintentionally. But either way, it's still a bad look.
It's very difficult to be the public face of a disaster like this. And he didn't mince words. He apologized, he said they'd fix it, and he said he'd make it right for the artist.
Sue them to the ground.
For owning the mistake. This is the way they can start to rebuild trust. As long as they follow through and compensate the artists and fix their process, this will be a win for them long term. Every studio faces this problem with assets. It's not a new problem. And if you have hundreds of people working on the game, you have to be better than average at tracking where every single thing is and making sure you document it. You see, if Bungie...
that's a good point. It's not a new thing. And you have a big team, you have to do the extra work, which is one of the problems with modern day gaming is that teams are so bloated. You have people doing indie developers making games like Expedition 33 with small teams, whereas you have like Destiny that has like 600 on something freaking people. Like it is too much bloat and too much time for mistakes to happen, and that's exactly what does happen is when you have too much bloat.
Bungie's successful, they're going to be shipping this game 5 years from now. And the people who knew where the art assets came
5 years from now. Oh, okay. So hold on. I think what she was saying is that in 5 years from now. Wait, what? Let me not put words in her mouth. What did she say?
5 years from now. And the people, if Bungie's successful, they're going to be shipping this game 5 years from now. And
they're going to be shipping this game 5 years from now. I still think she's reading a script and maybe there was like supposed to be a comma. And she said in 5 years from now, the people won't know what the art, I guess, it looks like. Art.
And the people who knew where the art assets came from will either have forgotten or they will no longer be in the company.
Oh, no, because it comes out in 3 months or so.
Bungie has consistently struggled with process, so I wasn't surprised to see the issue. I saw it firsthand when I interviewed with them in the spring of 2004. They were working on Halo 2, and Jason Jones tracked me down one day in the cafeteria and said that I should come and work as their executive producer.
Oh.
He seemed very concerned, but I didn't realize how behind they were until I interviewed. I ended up talking to about 20 people over the course of a couple days, and Halo 2 was a train wreck from a production perspective.
Ooh.
It was clear they were facing an epic crunch if they were going to
It is crazy to me that this is one of the most iconic games. And for some people, it's the best Halo ever made. For me, Halo 3 is. And I'm not going to get on this war of like, which one was the best Halo ever. If you say it's Halo 2, I'm willing to tip my hat because Halo 2 was a banger too. Like, both these games were amazing. But the fact that Halo 2 specifically had so many issues in its developmental process, it's a miracle it came out to be the banger that it was. Just insane how it turned out.
finish the game for holiday.
Designers are here, programmers are here, environment artists seem like they haven't gone home since about April anyway, so I think
They needed two things: production support to finish the game and adjustments in their culture so they wouldn't repeat the same mistakes in the future. I was excited to help, but it didn't happen. Bungie's process of interviewing was so broken that they never actually could decide or get back to me on a decision in a timely manner.
Oh no! Why is it not surprising me? Because that's what the modern day Bungie is today. They forget what they say. And it's just like, I'm going to give a very, very niche, small example. It's like I'm saying, if you play Destiny 2, they mentioned bringing Hawkmoon back as a craftable weapon. And it's been years since they made that statement. It's like they forgot. Or they said they're going to make other weapons craftable. And those specific weapons they showcased and talked about have never been able to be recrafted. It is just interesting that Bungie has a history of saying one thing and then doing completely another thing. Like, there's too many bodies running around.
During that period, I was also speaking with Xbox Publishing. Phil Spencer managed both of the teams, and he told me I should go work with Epic on Gears of War. So I did.
Wait, Epic made Gears of War? I didn't even know that.
Bungie has taken the first step in fixing trust with gamers, but now they need to fix it internally with their team and Sony. This isn't the first time art has been stolen.
No shot. No shot. That's me. There is nothing more satisfying to me than to see this in so many videos. Not just my quote, but just the image that has been shared in every marathon video I have ever seen. It is my biggest accomplishment. Don't let people tell you can't criticize a billion-dollar company and not get noticed. I have been noticed. What I wanted was to educate people and not let Bungie in their tweet get away with, oh, we're gonna do the right thing now. Yeah. When it's something that should have been done a long time ago, because they were acting like it was just a whoopsie. It was a first time, like an accident. It was a bigger issue that has been going on for some time. By the way, this needs updated because there's actually 5 all the way at the beginning before Destiny released. They stole art, and though the art was never officially released, but they did stole some art that they were advertising. But it is just funny that so many people have told me, stop complaining, stop criticizing. No, this just encourages me to do it more because it's working. I am being a voice for the community. Hear me roar. And it's working, obviously. How many people have watched this video? 33K as of this time slot. Yeah. Hear me roar, baby. Oh, it makes me feel so good, especially for people who want me to fail. Guess what? Daddy's only winning.
They've had this problem for multiple years. So
Yeah,
why
they
will
have.
it be different this time? Someone needs to be asking hard questions when mistakes that should have
I
been
asked
fixed
those hard
are
questions.
apparently still being repeated. I've had to fix teams before, and here's where I would start. I would find a trusted person on the team that's competent and gets things done, someone who's production minded, and then I would ask them to go figure out why this has happened. I would put them in charge of not only fixing the actual current problem of reviewing all the assets, I would also have them fix the longer term issue.
Yeah.
I would stay involved because trust has been broken and it's not the first time. This is what I call trust but verify. If you've invested $1 billion into a company, or if you happen to be a leader at Bungie who spent your lifetime building this legacy, you can't just check out when things get bad. You need to make sure that the team.
I don't think they're checking out because things got bad. I think they're checking out for a big golden reason.
Team members that you've assigned things to are able to get what they need to fix the problems. I'd also invite a person from Sony's team to help verify the findings. There needs to be full transparency. According to this
Before she moves on, I think what she's mentioning is really good. I think it is very important that they do involve Sony. The problem is Bungie has this bad behavior of wanting to do everything on their own, even their own marketing. Because I truly believe a lot of problems will be resolved if they let Sony come in and weave in. Things could be improved, but Bungie, or at least the leaders of Bungie, refuse to do anything else other than what they want to do. And it's very noticeable.
article from February of 2024, Bungie is already in a strained relationship with Sony. Given this, if I were Sony, I would have already picked a trusted person and embedded them with the Bungie team in 2024. It would create a communication channel for the team to express the things that they're seeing that would be outside their normal chain of leadership. If leadership's part of the problem, then Sony needs to know that, and they need to know how to fix it. And having this person that they can communicate with will help stop leaks. I found that one of the big reasons you get leaks on a team is when people feel like they have no other option because otherwise things aren't going to get fixed.
So you're having leaks because based on what we know from those leaks is that the developers have been trying to reach out to the leadership and pretty much do the good fight, try to and tell them, hey, they did it for Destiny, saying, hey, we need to do this. If you want the game to be successful, we need to do this. And pleading with the leadership. Even Marathon, they said, like, hey, at least for 5 years, it said, hey, don't do this. No one wants this. It's not going to be good, successful. And apparently the good old boys just threw all that opinions out the window. And they're not listening to any of the leadership. Or sorry,
Sony
the leadership's not listening to any of the devs. That's what I meant.
leaders should also be having skip levels with the Bungie team. This means talking to everyone reporting to the CEO and everyone reporting to the next two levels. I'd also add in all of the key individual contributors. In my experience, competent programmers, designers, and artists will tell you what isn't working. They want the game to be great, and they are willing to tell you what isn't happening.
Again, they've been trying. They have been trying. It's just there's like a massive wall there.
And how to fix it. This takes time, but you need to get this information from the team. Remember, everyone in the studio knows what is and isn't working. The data is all there. Gathering all those issues, prioritizing them, and fixing.
I'm not saying I don't disagree with anything she's saying right now. it's just hard for me to take what she's saying seriously, especially when it talks about reporting to leadership or talking to leadership, when she keeps pointing to the elephant in the room. When you have Christopher Barrett, the biggest elephant in the room is like, why? Multiple times he's been flashed throughout this video. And it's like, it's so hard to take what she says seriously because he's the worst manager that you can use. Like, what are we talking about? Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, let's keep going.
Fixing them is the only way the Bungie studio will survive. Everything that's brilliant and broken in Marathon was a decision made by someone, an action taken by someone.
True.
Most game companies will have a database or they'll have some type of documentation where debates over features were covered, and you can find out who the people are who understand what Marathon needs to be, and you can put them in charge of making the game better.
Wouldn't that be great?
Imagine how things might have been different for Redfall if Xbox leaders had taken time to talk to the team directly, if they had understood how desperately broken the game was.
She's going for the throat here. Like, this is a perfect example of not listening to your developers. It's also a perfect example, like Arcane makes Batman games, right? And that's their bread and butter. Imagine forcing a company to make something that isn't in their ballpark. Kind of what we're seeing with Destiny right now. Or not Destiny, what we're seeing with Bungie, moving from like Destiny Halo to an extraction shooter.
Of course, you want to look at the more objective data as well. You can tell who the competent team members are by looking at what they've contributed to the game build. You can look at player metrics from the recent alpha. You can review what the internet thinks about the game. What are gamers saying and why? All of this will start the process of understanding what is working at Bungie and what isn't. And if it's really bad, you can take this approach.
Can we review our status here, Si? Let's look at this thing from a standpoint of status. What have we got on the spacecraft that's good?
If you're talking about Bungie, it was the cat. That everyone loves the cat. I don't know how that's going to save the game, but we've got pussy, cats. That's it. We're doomed.
I'll get back to you, Jane.
Trying to ship when the studio's on fire isn't easy. It's like driving down the highway at 55 and trying to change a flat tire. You have to be very careful. At the same time, you can't ignore the fire. You need to start chipping away at problems. But you don't want the situation that I call pirates on a burning ship. This is where the ship is on fire and you've got the entire team on deck and they're not putting the fire out, they're sword fighting. It's very easy.
It's funny because what's not being said here is that leadership is the pirate / assassin, and the developers who are trying to fix the game or save the game, that's everyone else you're seeing in the image right now. They're getting laid out by leadership. So just keep that mental note, right?
For a team to descend into this kind of behavior. So any changes you
make, there goes Joe.
Mind. Finger pointing
goes Tony.
is going to happen. And leaders should watch carefully to see who these pirates are. They may be right. They may be right in what's broken, but you have to look and see how many of them are actually trying to fix the problems and how many are fanning the flames of Bungie's destruction.
Well, I can tell you who's doing it.
Sony wants to keep Bungie alive, they probably need to delay Marathon. Then they have to show.
Don't tell Bungie content creators that you're going to trigger them.
The team that they know what the problems are and they have to fix them. This transparency doesn't come without risk. It could lead to more leaks, but I don't think they have a choice. Yeah. They've already lost a lot of competent people. They can't afford to lose more. This is why I suggest finding those.
I mean, not only they lose competent people, like she's right. Like we lost Luke Smith, Mark Noseworthy, Salva fucking Torre, who made the most iconic music from Bungie, like across time itself. Joe Blackburn, and then Chris Proctor. And yes, you may not like these people, but it doesn't matter. the point is, these people were instrumental in both like Destiny's history, and I don't know how if any of them actually worked on Halo. I think Salvatore did music with Martin O'Donnell, who's also not part of it anymore with their scuffle moving into Destiny. But the issue is Bungie has cut a lot of good talent, and a lot of good talent has also left, which leaves very unexperienced, at least in the world of Destiny, and especially in like a track and shooter with Marathon, unexperienced developers and people in charge. And that's why we're seeing some of the problems we're seeing.
Team members that are good and put them in charge of fixing things. Competent team members already know the process and the people. The more autonomy Sony can give them, the faster they will start to rebuild trust.
I'm going to stop you there. The problem is they have too much autonomy. And I think it's baked into their contract too. So that's part of the problem, is that they have too much autonomy.
And momentum. And momentum is critical. Even when you're working on a game that isn't in trouble, you still need to make sure you've got momentum.
Yep.
Bungie's momentum right now is negative. They are so unhappy. Morale is so low that they're leaking to the internet. And you've got to turn that around as quickly as possible, because the good people still in the studio are likely already interviewing elsewhere.
It's interesting she says that, because you think of like the community that plays Destiny, right? You could say like, oh, you guys have issues for continuing to play their games, but you've got to stop to think that developers are working in a toxic environment, which was from leaks, and it's been going on for years. And the leaders have even threatened to use layoffs as another lever that they could use again in the future. With all that going on, these people have Stockholm syndrome. There's no shot I would stay in a business, a company that is essentially got a gun to my head at all times, saying I could lay you out at any time. I could pull that lever, and then the environment's toxic. Like, I'm sorry. Bungie is not the greatest job in the world. It's not. There are better places to work. You can sit there and smoke your crack pipe all you want. I'm sure there are better developing games, like game developers out there that you could join up and feel fulfilling, because there's no shot that Bungie in its toxic state is good, right? I wouldn't do it. No.
One way to fix momentum is to establish a plan with mini milestones for finishing the game. It sounds simple because it is, but it requires analysis and hard work. The team needs to create these mini milestones, things that they can definitely hit. And then when they do hit them, they need to celebrate it. And this will start to create those beats, that momentum in a positive direction. It will get everyone focused on making Marathon great. And the team needs to set these milestones, because the people doing the work need to define the work. This approach might be happening. There have been reports that Marathon will move to a strategy of releasing multiple playtests. As for fixing the larger issues on the team, it will do that too. You will quickly find out who is on board with fixing the studio, who is contributing, and who isn't. Then leadership can deal with the personnel problems. They can start managing the poor performers out, and the team can focus.
That is a statement you can make, is that leadership can remove the poor performers. So what happens if the leadership is the poor performers? I just a little question there is, what if the leadership is they are the poor performers
on the game? I've used this approach with games and studios before. Early in my producer career, I was handed several games that were on fire, and my job was to figure out if they could be saved. It wasn't fun. I didn't like seeing teams fail. It's heartbreaking because it's usually good people doing their best, and it's hard to stay objective. I wanted every team to be successful, but it turns out sometimes they just can't make the game. There was one game.
I think that's a good point, because so many people are like, they can't cancel Marathon because people lose their jobs. Well, guess what? There's some people that just can't make a game. And expecting a company that's made Halo and Destiny, and whether it's, the same people are still there, it's still the experience is not in extraction shooting. And it wouldn't surprise me if they failed at it, because most companies that I've seen have failed to try to do something that's outside of their ballpark. Most companies stick to what works. Hell, there's a reason why Activision has made 30,000 Call of Duties. It's because it's the thing that they know how to do well.
Game in particular, codenamed Dragon. It was being developed in the late 90s by a company called Eclipse and was featured in the Next Gen magazine. I started by playing the game, looking at all of the assets, the bugs,
never heard
the
of it
design
before.
docs. I reviewed everything we had. I also started talking with the team, and I started with the Microsoft publishing team. You see, we were still learning how to make games. We were still figuring out how to partner with other game teams. We weren't perfect, and sometimes we were making the mistakes. And if I could find those mistakes and fix them on our side, that started the process of building trust with the developer. It made them happy to see that I was willing to actually fix problems on my side as much as I was willing to dive into their issues. For fixing the game itself, I asked them to make some mini milestones where we could assess progress and get some wins. The developer was continually late on builds, and most of what they delivered wasn't high quality. These milestones were really tiny. For example, please deliver one animation on one character at final quality. Take one section of one environment and make it at final quality. My hope was that this would inspire the team and create momentum for the game. Sadly, it didn't. Everything they delivered wasn't great, and it became apparent very quickly that they didn't have the talent to make this game.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you just don't have talent to do something that's out of your ballpark. Or at least in this case, I don't know if it was out of their ballpark. They're just making a new game. It's like, sometimes billion-dollar companies are going to fail. They're not going to make good games for multiple reasons. In this case, I just feel like Bungie has lost a lot of talent, and you're starting to see the impact of that.
I remember sitting down with their leader over beers and trying to have this discussion with him. It's very difficult to tell someone that their game isn't doing well. But I did it. I sat down, and as respectfully as possible, I told him I didn't think they were going to make it with their current talent and on their current trajectory. To my surprise, he agreed completely. I appreciated his honesty. It took courage to do that. When they delivered their next milestone, they failed to hit their goals again. I called a program review with Microsoft Games leadership. I laid out my case, and I suggested that we cancel the game. It would take too much to save it. I had run down all the data. I knew I was right, but the leader told me that we couldn't cancel it. It was baffling to me, and I argued about it after the meeting too. I'm not sure why he was so stubborn. It's possible that he was friends with the founder of the company, who I believe at that point had just joined Microsoft, or maybe there was something else there. But either way, it was very strange for me to see an ex-programmer acting emotionally instead of refuting data. So I went home and I told
It may not be emotional. It might be money, dollar signs. You never know.
my husband that I didn't see any other way to fix the game except to parachute in. I was going to have to move on site, in bed with the team, and see what I could do. I didn't want to do it. I doubted that it would work, but I really didn't see any other option. In the end, I didn't end up going because Microsoft decided not to pay for the latest milestone since it failed. That was effectively canceling the game because if the developer can't make payroll, they can't continue working.
Yeah.
So the game got canceled, and it was really heartbreaking because this team cared about their game. It wasn't that they didn't want to make a great game or that they weren't focused on what players wanted. It's that they couldn't do it. And it's really sad to see people fail.
That was intentional. That was intentional fade into marathon. Sometimes they're going to make things that you just can't make right.
So the approach I'm suggesting would start fixing Bungie, but they have to want to fix the problems, and it's possible there are barriers to doing so. Maybe Sony made a deal where they aren't allowed to embed people on site. Maybe there are performance guarantees where leaders on the team are incentivized to act against the best interests of saving the team or the game. For example, maybe Marathon has a set ship date, and if it's missed, executives won't get their big payout.
She said the thing that people have been saying for a long time. It is crazy when an expert says the same thing that we've all been saying, that the Bungie leaders just want that juicy payout and they're going to shove this thing out, which if they don't delay it, I'm going to take it as a fact at that point, because there's no way that they're going to put this out in 3 months and fix all the problems. It's not going to happen, especially with this negative sentiment. And I say this because the leaders of Bungie have said that they want this to be top 5. And there's no way it's going to be top 5 how it is even remotely right now. So it will be a failure at launch because of the leaders' expectations. And if it's not delayed, it tells me they want it to fail, or they just want to throw it out there just so they can get their big payout. Well, yeah.
I've always admired Sony. They've done a lot of great things, but lately they've made some silly mistakes. So I can believe their contract isn't great with Bungie.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, look at Concord. If you looked at
it is, I bet the contract is so free for Bungie that they probably have more freedom than most developers get in these like business deals, because how desperate PlayStation was to try to do their live service challenge, right? They want nothing but live services. That's their new chase. And they want to try to compete against Xbox, who now owns Activision and Call of Duty, right? And even Bethesda too. But that's not really the live service thing. It's mostly just a Call of Duty they're trying to compete with.
that game and said, yes, this is great, we should totally buy this studio, even without the game looking as ridiculous as it ended up, it's risky to buy a studio that hasn't shipped and has no track record for success. It was too early to tell if the team was good. Sure, there were individuals on the team that had a proven track record, but not as a team.
Yeah, because that's there were several Bungie devs working on that game.
And games like these, it's about the team and the system. It's not about a few people's pedigree.
It's interesting because Concord cost $400 million. Just hold on to that nugget. That's pretty big.
They understood the value of respect. That if they treated their developers
the
and
legend
players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game.
It is ironic that she showcases the dude from the Game of the Year who made a game for the gamers and was completely successful, almost as if he listens to his own developers and listens to the fans and makes a product that they want. If only Bungie leaders would do that.
Having trust with the gamers, the developers, and Sony is critical. It's critical to the survival of the studio. So they have to start running at these problems and fixing them as quickly as possible. Because this trust that you build is what allows you to make mistakes. It's heartbreaking for me to see this team struggling because it could be different. It could be so much better. I remember when Bungie came to Microsoft, the passion they had was incredible. They were some of the most fun and competent people I have ever worked with in the games industry. Now, obviously, most of those people are gone. I suppose It's kind of the ship of Theseus at this point. But that doesn't mean that they can't turn this around and survive. There are many problems, and the odds are stacked against them. But I think that if they have the will, if they really want to fix it, they have a great chance. And I, for one, hope they do.
Oh, Marathon. This is the OG Marathon shipping late. Oh, the OG one.
Yeah. Well, software production is much more of an art than a science. At the time we were at Macworld, our box was in production, and we were actually planning to ship the product in 2 weeks. We certainly had no interest in lying to our customers. And
man, it's almost like Bungie threw that out the window because they have no problem lying to the customers. That's for sure. All right, I think her video is fantastic. It makes logical sense. It is a well-designed plan, but it is pure copium because the problem has always been leadership and the developers who continue to stay and engage with the toxic environment, allowing it to continue to exist instead of actually standing up and making change, which, you know, leaks are great. That's one way to combat some of it. But the problem is still there. And I like that she pans it as it's just not one person's fault. It's the whole team's fault. And I agree. That's why I call out Bungie as a whole, because everyone is to blame to some certain degree. But leadership overwhelmingly is the biggest issue because they're devs in Destiny and like probably Marathon too that want the game to do well and are pleading like, hey, we need to do this. The gamers want this. And the leaders are like, nah, we're going to do whatever we want. And it does seem like it's because they want the payout. Now, Sony lost $400 million because of Concord. Why would they let Marathon, with so much negative reception, massive negative sentiment, people just checked out on Marathon completely, except for maybe a handful of people who were hyped for it, which is very niche compared to the overall gaming sphere. Why would Sony allow this to happen if they don't want to lose money? Because it's in the contract that Bungie has to meet specific goalposts, financial margins, and if they don't, then Sony then can go in and wipe the board and replace the board with their own people and essentially take over the company, right? And I think that's what Sony wants. I think the deal was never good for Sony. They were scammed out the door. Like, we knew that leaked out that Bungie had lied and deceived Sony. They were scammed. Lightfall failed to meet financial projections. Even the final shape did, even though it was good. That's what led to the second round of layoffs because Bungie failed to meet financial expectations. It is very obvious that Sony does not like the deal that they have. And the only way to get rid of that deal is for Bungie to fail, which is why we're just seeing them kind of do their own thing and fail. And that's why Sony isn't like hard doing all this stuff that she has excellently laid out, which I think it's very logical that a team that wants to succeed, a company that wants to thrive, would take what she says and follow it and try to improve. But the reason they aren't is because it's all about money and power. Sony wants control, and the leaders of Bungie just want that payout. And it becomes more and more apparent as more information comes out and as more time goes by and we don't see a delay. And I think if there is no delay, it is just more proof in the pudding that these people want this game to either fail or they just want it to be thrown out there so they can get their payout. That's it. I mean, there is no like, oh, you can't, that's all speculation. And you're right, it is speculation, but it's based on logic and context. What do we know? Why would they push something out half baked, knowing that it could fail, if they plan to stay in the company? Like, you don't stand on Titanic expecting it to go to London, but it's already sinking, and you're not doing anything to fix it, right? You're just fanning the flames. It's because they planned on jumping off the entire time. They have their own rafts. They're ready to go. They're just staying on as long as possible until it's time to go. And they're going to hop on their rafts with all their money, and they're going to wave at everyone who's sinking in the Titanic. Bye-bye. Bye. That's what I think. The link will be down below for you guys. Hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. As always, until next time, game